This is JJ Humphrey and Bobby Cleveland wiping his nose right here before we go to start. Bob's been trying to coach me in what's the appropriate way to cough. He's got a little cough today, so we're going to excuse him if he coughs. Me and him both have had kind of scratchy throats and coughing a little bit. Hey, we do want to give a plug for JJ4OK.com, JJ4OK.com. As well as we look right now, they're doing some things with Jake Merrick, and it's the Patriot program. So y'all check that out with Jake Merrick and work on looking into all the things that he's doing to try to start some new programming about Patriots, about all of us joining him and making sure that we carry on the traditions of patriotism and that we sponsor patriotic businesses in our state. So be sure to look at that.
Bob, is that something that he's doing on the radio at 96 point?
Oh, this is something else. He's starting to kind of go with that, not just on the radio, but he's going to start a whole different, I guess, a new whole station and all kinds of stuff. I've got to check it out. I haven't yet. I don't know all the details on it, but again, people need to be checking that out, checking what he's doing. And
we'll try to know all the details on it. Why are you promoting it?
Well, Bob, I had the websites to go on and look at that, but I ran off. I know you won't believe this. I almost feel naked, Bob. I ran off without my phone. Okay. I don't ever go anywhere, and this is twice I've done that, and I don't know what's happening to me. I'm having those Joe Biden moments, you know, Bob, slipping off into Wonderland or something. Got too much going on. That's what.
Well, JJ, I guess I have this crud that's going around. I don't have a sore throat. I got rid of it, but I'm either blowing with nose is running. I got to blow it, a cough, and then that gives me a headache. Now, I guess they say you just have to let it run its course, but I've
had it 2 months, Bob. I think it's not. I don't know whether it's bird flu. I must just have pigeon flu or something. I don't know that. I don't have it real bad. I just got a little, you know, Bob,
I probably got parakeet flu.
It could be parakeet. Do you notice that on the bird flu, Bob? How come no other birds are killed? Only chickens. Why do they pick chickens to kill, Bob? Just chickens.
They don't like chickens. That's what the deal is. They hate chickens.
I think they're communists and don't like chickens, Bob. I think they're trying to destroy our egg business. They don't like us eating eggs. Protein, good for you. Hey, Bob, today I want to talk about something that really nobody else is talking about. And again, it's something I'm going to do, but I would think people would be talking about all of this because we're hearing all this talk, Bob, about Oklahoma DOGE. So it's kind of funny to me, Bob. Most of the people that's been in Oklahoma politics and in leader positions in Oklahoma politics have been there for a while. They didn't just get in this year. All of our leadership has been in there for quite some time. And why is it just now we're going to start looking for ways to hold accountable and look for waste? They've been in there for 6-7 years. Why have they not been doing this all along? I thought that's
Who's on this committee? Who's on this committee the governor talks about?
I haven't seen who all he's putting on that committee yet. But
you know why? You know why? He's not letting it out. He's not telling you who's on there.
I can almost guarantee you JJ Humphrey will not be on his committee. What do you want to bet, Bob?
Oh, I think he have to respect what you find, what you've done.
Oh, Bob, they know. I know for fact. I know for fact that they know I can find a lot of stuff up there. I know that for fact. But they're not going to want me on the committee.
Because they don't want to find the real stuff. They want to find some small things.
They're the problem. If you want to look at the problem, let's just look at what has happened in the last year or so, 2 years, 3 years with our government. Bob, you know what? We had the barbecue scandal. We had all the barbecue scandal.
Now, JJ, wait just a second on the barbecue scandal, which that was a big deal. Now, what's happened to it? Why is it gone away? We still have the problem.
Bob, here's what's even funnier. The people on the private side got charged, but what's happened to them? Nothing. and the people on the state side. Now, if you looked at that, there's no way that those private people could have got the money unless somebody on state side was involved in it. You watch the daggum tourism director, the minute he come out, bam, he quit. Excuse me, Bob, I didn't cover up my mouth like you told me to. But here's the deal. We saw all that. What's been done? Nothing. Guess what? I turned in massive amounts of COVID money that I know personally was stolen, embezzled. I've seen it. I've had witnesses. I've talked to law enforcement on it. Nothing done on it, Bob. Not one thing done on COVID money missing, on the barbecue. Guess what? Epic, Bob, Epic. They stole, reportedly, all this allegedly, $55 million. Now, guess what? These three guys from Epic get charged. Where's the rest of the charges? There's no way they stole $55 million, and nobody from the State Department of Ed was involved in that.
Well, they just got it out of sight, out of mind, and like people don't want to talk about it. But that's one of them. That's I get just shocked that that come out and such a big deal, brought it up, then all of a sudden nobody wants to talk about it.
Well, then the next tourism director, they know when she comes on that she had this problem with giving her husband. Or not her husband, let's back up, giving the company that her husband worked for like $1 million worth of
business.
Yeah, the contracts. Bob, I want to say 12, but I won't swear it was that much, but somewhere, I mean, big
it's
time.
A pretty good number, JJ.
It was a big number. Have you heard anything from that, Bob?
No,
nothing,
not at all.
Nothing at all. Guess what? I turned in OMMA for almost the identical thing, using millions of dollars without POs. Where did the money go for? I turned all that in. Again, the state auditor's auditing that, but you know what I'm expecting? Because kudos to her, she does her audits and she comes out and says, here it is. But guess what? Nobody does nothing. And then nobody raises Cain. And then everybody's mad at me for raising Cain about all of these issues. You know, Bob, I've been involved in state politics practically all my life. All my adult life, I've been involved in that. I have never seen a time where you had cronyism, nepotism, all of these things, all the isms. Bob, and you know, just at the
we have corruption, period. We got corruption like we've never had before that I'm aware of.
Well, Bob, just like, you know, you take Department of Corrections, they fire a doctor. Now, I was told the reason they fired him because the director didn't like that he made more money than him. So they fire him. That's the rumor going around. But they bring over somebody who's not a doctor. How do you fire a doctor over medical, bring
pay them the same amount of money that the doctor would get? That they were not a doctor. They were just a friend of his.
Yeah, and they bring them over from OMS without any experience in corrections. They fire the communications director, and they bring over the Senate budget chairman's daughter who worked at OMS, who had zero experience, and brings her over there. And Bob, you can just go on with he's fired multiple people and brought over people from OMS where he worked before. And Bobby, while he was at OMS, he did away with all of the, the merit. Yeah, the merit.
Anything, one thing I would be looking at is the bidding process that they're going through now on all these agencies. They're not doing it anymore.
Well, I agree. You got all these bidding problems where they're not using purchase orders. And that's what I turned in on OMMA. Huge amounts of money. One bid or 16 invoices involving Oklahoma Department of Corrections, what we call OCI, Oklahoma Correctional Industry, who builds furniture. They bought furniture, 16 invoices, roughly about $1 million, Bob. Not one purchase order from two state agencies. No purchase order. How do you know what actually got over there? What didn't? What actual money?
When you go to the attorney general and ask them to investigate it. You go to the governor and ask them to investigate it. They just ignore it.
No, and that's where, Bob, that's why I'm laughing, because now Oklahoma DOGE, Department of what's that stand for? Department of something efficiency, government efficiency, Department of Government Efficiency. Bob, I have for the last 5 years screamed all of this stuff. And I've been hollering all kinds of stuff, whether it be financial, whether it be just misuse of agencies, whether it be abuse of agencies. And you know what?
And you get the bad things said about you because you're just trying to stop this corruption and get a little more efficient. And they just want to try to blame it on you. Yet you're the problem. You're the one that's bringing this up, and you don't need to be talking about it. Keep
Bob,
quiet. Just keep quiet.
Look at DHS. Look at all the scandal that has happened in DHS.
Well, look at the scandals that happened when Harper's over at OMES. Look at what was over there. He left it in shambles, and look what he's done to DOC. He left it in shambles, and he wants to come out and have the audacity to come out and say, "Well, when you want good people, you got to give them good salaries." So
well, Bob,
we're going to give this guy a 50% pay raise. That guy's as short of a pancake and a Happy Meal. He's
Well, here's the deal, so that people understand that OMES is over all the government. So they're like the CEO of all the government. They're watching all these contracts to make sure nothing gets by them, that they keep every agency straight. Now, I think we need to do away with OMES. It was created for a good ideal, but again, it's been bastardized and it's become worse. It is an example of what happens with government when you do one of these state agencies and it runaway government. So one, if you want to hold anything accountable, just do away with OMES. You don't need it.
Well, what they got to do away with is these bureaucrats that think they can just go raise their salaries when they want to, or they can do whatever they budget and on the buying the material, which he should be very familiar with the budget process, the material process. He should be. He wrote the bills. He knows about it, but he's not. He didn't sign it. He didn't have to go by it.
Well, Bob,
he just what he wants.
Here's the deal, so that people know why Harp was there. You had the barbecue scandal. You had the Epic scandal. You had the scandal of the investment on Zoomwalk. Okay, so there's 3 things that he's responsible being over, because all those were done in contracts and things like that they should have been watching for this. That's why they were created. Should have been watching. All the COVID scandal, all the money missing. Bob, they just had a 40,000 state auditor just come out with abuse of money on COVID stuff, if I'm not mistaken, $40,000 involving Ryan Walters and the governor when Ryan was, I think that's when he was Secretary of Education for the governor. We'd have to look and make sure. I haven't read that complete audit yet. But here's another scandal that, guess what? Harp should have been over. I think that's in the same time period during that COVID mess that he was there. And again, he did away with merit protection. He infected all these purchasing practices. And guess what? He was the biggest nightmare. And all of these scandals are setting right under him. And of course, he's answering to the governor, and he's the governor's great friend. So again, you got all of this scandal going on during this time. And guess what?
He claims that he has the governor, and he has the attorney general in his back door. They take care of him. He can do whatever he wants.
Oh, but he's come out publicly and said that.
It's not just that. On this, they got problems there on financing. They got a mess there. But all we've asked to do, all you asked them to do, they just investigate. You don't have to agree with you, but just investigate it. Bob, the attorney general wouldn't investigate, nor would the governor. Ignored
it. And right now we're talking about just money things. But we're going to get in, because I want to talk about this lawsuit that I'm looking at filing. But I want people to understand what it is that we didn't just come up with this. Bob, I mean, what, 4 or 5 years we've been screaming on these agencies, mainly me and you on DOC, but you know I've been on DHS, I've been on the DAs. Bob, if you want to talk about something, I've turned in how the DAs are committing fraud. There ain't nobody can argue with it if you look at it. How in the world the AG can come out and go, well, JJ don't know the law. Hey, Mr. AG.
This is something I read, something very interesting is going on out in the Panhandle. On one of the guys had it on a report on.
Oh yeah, Bob, that was big. What it is, the DAs have a drug task force. Now the guy that's over their drug task force, if I'm not mistaken, has already gotten in trouble once, and then they bring him back. But what they're doing is they're stopping like all these trucks out there. One of these trucks had an automatic where it keeps track of their speed, and so that they know that trucker's not speeding. So this female truck driver gets stopped, and they say that she's going roughly 11 or 12 miles over the speed limit, so they can get her up to that higher level. They give her a $360 ticket, and she had the evidence to prove that she wasn't going that fast. Then when they get to looking into it, Bob, they had written 7,000. I think it's close to 7,000. But here's what's funny, Bob, in that this lady had went to a local law enforcement, got referred to the OSBI. The OSBI referred her to the AG. The AG referred her to the FBI. The FBI referred her to DOJ. None of them would do anything. She went and got an attorney. The attorney gave the information over back to the FBI. Then they went and looked at it. And now guess what? Now it turns out she's telling the truth. But how many people would have just stayed in there fighting for that? And if you want to know what's frustrating, 4 or 5 years of us screaming and hollering and showing evidence after evidence after evidence. And guess what? You can't get the AG comes out. Well, we investigated that. Well, that's a lie. They didn't investigate nothing. They don't investigate anything. When you say you investigated whistleblower allegations, violation of whistleblower, and this is key, Bob, because you got a doctor of psychology. Now she didn't just fall out of there and get a degree. She had to spend a long time getting that degree. Employed, has been employed for years and years with this, never had a problem, and now she turns over where they're covering up rapes, and guess what? She gets fired all of a sudden. She's won twice in court. We put it in to have it investigated. They said they investigated it. Guess what? They never even talked to her. How do you investigate a whistleblower allegation and never talk to the person who was the victim and never talk to the person who helped prepare the records that got sent to you? Never talk to either one of us. How do you do that? Is that much an investigation? I'd say it's no investigation.
Now, that investigation was very good, very articulated, the way that you handle that. You had all the information right there at their feet. They didn't have to do nothing. They could just follow what you had if they would just done that. But the DA, the AG, he didn't do anything.
No, and Bob, here's something else. Recently, I handed in a whole brief, a probable cause, and evidence of COVID violations, COVID law that have been broke here in Oklahoma. It would allow us to arrest and prosecute Anthony Fauci and others that were responsible for what happened here in Oklahoma with COVID. Now, I just saw the other day, and I don't have my phone, or I'd have this. I was prepared with this. I don't have my phone, but I think you saw it too, because there's a group me and you both belong to, where they come out and showed that several, including the Texas, I think Tennessee, and several of these AGs across the nation had written Bondi, I think it was, so the DOJ, and said that they would love to assist them in prosecuting because they know that they can prosecute on state level, even though Bondi's had, not Bondi, but Fauci has been given immunity on federal level. He has it on state. what I've handed into the state of Oklahoma puts us miles ahead of any of these other states. Guess who wasn't on that list?
Attorney General.
Our Attorney General was not on
You
that
know, I don't understand if I'm running for office, I'd want to try to help that. There's a lot of people, a lot of votes there in that health department. There's a lot of votes at DOC, families there who are in there, who lost people, died, who were killed, murdered because of the Department of Corrections. There's a number of people there that vote. And I don't understand a guy that's trying to run for office and ignoring everything that he has just to go out there now. He just and not only that, I'm going to go here and then you can finish up what you got. He spoke to the GOP, Old Cleveland County GOP, last Saturday. He didn't say one thing about what he could do as the governor, what needs to be done, what he'd do, his thought. He just talked about him flying an airplane around, jet. That was his campaign speech. I don't know why he even came to do that. We've heard that before.
Well, Bob, that's what he's going to run on, is being a war veteran. And Bob, you know what? There's another war veteran that I deal with, a couple of war veterans that I deal with quite often. And hey, all respect, my kid's fixing to go into the military. Man, it's a big step.
Well, I have a lot of respect for him, but I don't need to hear the same thing over and over.
All the respect for him for doing it, but can you come out of doing something good and step out and become something bad? You know what I'm saying? Okay, you did good yesterday. I'll give you that. Man, you're a war hero. I'll give you that. But what have you done as AG? Because what you did when you was young man over there ain't nothing on what you've done as AG. And what you've done as AG, you have refused to investigate DHS allegations of extreme abuse, kids being tortured, kids being sexually molested. And it ain't coming from one source. It's coming from multiple sources. And much of it has already been confirmed. It ain't maybe it hadn't been confirmed. You did what? Nothing. Now, here's the problem, though. These people saying, Oklahoma DOGE, you know what they did?
No.
Nothing. They did. So all of these people that we're going to see in charge of.
Why are we going to start another government agency for? What we needed, we have something up there at the Capitol already.
Loft. They created Loft. Loft is the same thing. Guess what it's done? Nothing. Nothing. They've done nothing. And that's my point, Bob. They're the ones doing it. Here you give them all of this scandal on DHS. Governor turns his head. AG turns his head. Speaker pro tem, the pro tem of the House at the time. All of these leaders did nothing. Speaker right now doing nothing on all of this stuff. And again, they're coming up. We're going to start the Oklahoma DOGE. Well, how about starting with all the corruption that we see in these agencies and calling them out on it? How about let's do an investigation, outside investigation? That just makes sense. You know what I'm saying?
Well, if you're the Attorney General, you can run on. I'm calling for an investigation of all this, everything that's going on, because there's corruption out there, plain as day. I've never seen it like this before.
Bob, if he would have done the COVID, if he would have done the DHS, just them two, and if he had followed up with us on prisons, hey, this boy, you wouldn't stop him. I mean, he would be walking into the governor's office. I think what's going to keep him from getting to the governor's office is the fact that he has done nothing on this. None of these things has he helped anybody accountable. And, I don't think it looks good for the director of the Department of Correction. I always want to say corruption, Bob. I filed that bill so that y'all know I did file the bill saying rename them to the Department of Corruption.
Well, now it's more so there. The governor's giving him. I don't understand, Judge. They have this guy. He got like a $90,000. He changed his pay coming over there, which is already to be about the third highest paid director in the nation, and we're not third highest.
We're nowhere close to it, Bob. And yeah,
he got to raise his pay up because he thinks he has to pay these guys. If you want good people, you got to pay good power. Well, what about the people that work there? What about giving them some money instead of just giving all this 50% pay raise to a guy who doesn't know
nothing,
doesn't know anything?
nothing, Bob.
Other than he's egotistical.
Bob, you almost
egotistical. He can handle that area, but he has done nothing to help us.
I want to just stop for a minute and just tell everybody that's the closest I've seen Bobby Cleveland come to cussing right there. It's right there. It's the closest I've seen. But you're right, Bob. Here's the deal. In fact, I had it on my phone. I was going to bring that. I already had it saved. All of these people that they've given these massive. So here we are. We're going to start Oklahoma DOGE. Well, guess what? Just go get the list of where you've given astronomical money to all of your buddies that you put in there. And guess what? I can't find, so they say there is there, but I can't find one record of him actually doing that. How was that done? You've got to raise the actual salary of that director's office or it ain't raised. So how did you do that totally without any record of that? Because I've asked for that record.
Well, it says something about the governor has to, could go in there and change their salaries. That's something that we gave him that responsibility and that opportunity. And I say we, the House of Representatives, wanted more and more power. But this director at DLC, I had a girl. Let me start to think, was it a girl or a guy that I talked to several people, but they was telling me they went for their academy. The director was there in his uniform, and they were told to go up there and shake his hand and tell him thanks. So he or she went up there, and all he was doing. He had 5 females gathered around him that he brought up there with him, and they were dressed rather. He felt they were dressed rather risque, I guess you could say. Provocative. And but he was up there telling them, impressing them with how he flies a helicopter from prison to prison, and didn't give them time enough for anything.
Well, Bob, here's the thing. Let's look at what he did while he's at OMES. We've already named all of these disasters. We've already named all of these scandals that happened while he was at OMES. Scandal after scandal after scandal, and not one thing done. Then they move him to director. Now, my understanding, he is now the top director pay. He's the top pay. Now, my thing is, Bob, did you do that based on his experience? No. Did you do it based on his training? No. Did you do it based on his education? No. Because guess what? He's got 0, 0, and 0. So how do you justify
that qualifies him to have the biggest pay raise of all, because he didn't meet anything.
Well, how do you justify giving the biggest pay raise to a guy who has 0 experience? And now let's look at what he did before he got there. Scandal after scandal after scandal. You moved him out. If he was so dang good, why didn't you leave him as OMES?
Well, why did all the people at OMES in the top echelon, why did they all resign or move on out, get transferred? Either resigned or transferred. What went on there? Well,
Bob, it's unbelievable what is going on.
But nobody would investigate it. Nobody would do anything. They don't want to know.
But the very people that we're talking about now are coming out and saying, oh, we're going to hold all these agencies accountable. Really? Because you're going to have to investigate yourself. You got to investigate yourself if we're really going to find out what's going on.
Well, Hart's done a good job on investigating himself. He always comes out with a really good number.
Yeah. He always says that he's got the AG in his hip pocket and that he can investigate himself. And then he comes up with some crazy. They change the wording and it comes out great. You know
what really gets me though, they talk a lot about how he's changed some of the mottos not mottos, some of the wording at DLC, like we change lives, different things that we do.
It is Yes.
I'm sorry.
It's the state motto. It's the Department of Corrections motto.
And they make a big deal out of that. The governor did. Like, he's done that, and that's he's gonna make that a big deal.
Yeah, they act like it's like, hey, man, he saved the state millions and millions of dollars. Here's what's funny, Bob, and you know this to be true. We found $43 million hid in the Department of Corrections budget. Who even said? Nobody says anything about that. We actually found 80 million. Turned that over to Loft. Guess what? Nothing happened to that other 40 million. Nothing. And we turned in all kinds of stuff with OCI. We turned in all kinds of stuff with the canteen that appears illegal. Guess what? Nothing on that. You know, I turned in all this stuff OMMA. I got even more. You know what? And kudos to the state auditor. She'll come out, kind of back us up. But at the end of the day, guess what? She's not going to get out there and fight to see charges filed. She's going to turn her report over and say, that's all I do. I turn over a report. Okay, well, what's that going to get you? It ain't got us nowhere. What's been done in the last 6 years that we've seen scandal after scandal, not one damn thing done on it. Me on the sideline.
JJ, it's pathetic. Absolutely pathetic what they're doing there at DLC. Now they're telling the guys that they don't come in on their day off and work, you know, we're going to fire you. You got to come in on your day off. You got to stand by your phone. You can't have a day off. All right, you go in, they call you, wait a minute, they call you, you go in and they find, well, they don't need you. So then they send you back home. You've already run the guy's day.
Bob, that can't be because he's got 80% retention rate. Can't be, Bob, because he says he got 80% retention rate.
Well, so we know that's a lie. We know that's a lie. They wouldn't be doing this to these employees. So that they want to pay him more money and they want to have the audacity to say, well, we got to pay more money if we want to have the first class be number one. We got to give more money. But you give more money to the guys that deserve it. You don't give it to guys just because they got the title and you're friends.
So here's what's funny. Let me jump on what Bob's saying. So I have a former warden, probably one of the best you've ever seen. His name's Luke Pettigrew. So I got another warden who's super good person who lined me out on this way back to see how in the world they beat and they doctor all of this stuff up. So I get Luke to go meet with the speaker and say, this is why JJ needs these records. This is why, and the most critical thing is staffing levels. If you don't have great staffing levels, you get drugs in, you get phones in, you get contraband in, you're going to see crimes go up. Right now, we've got the inmates running the facilities because of staffing levels. So he goes in, tells the speaker what I need. I have him come and help me write all that up. Speaker says, we're not going to give you a subpoena, although we had the authority to get a subpoena. Now, remember how many subpoenas they did on Ryan Walters over nothing. Over, did you have, how many outside people did you have come from Texas and get a job? Did this guy not show up to work? Fine. If you want to investigate that, that's great. I don't have any problem. But why will you get subpoenas for that? And the stuff we're talking about, life-threatening, killing people, all kinds of drugs, all kinds of issues, rapes, all kinds of stuff. You will not even give us a subpoena. We write to the Department of Corrections and say, would you give us this information so that we can verify how many employees you actually have showing up, going to work? How many people are actually there? And guess what? No response. So we have a state bureaucracy thumbing their nose at government, at elected officials saying, we're not going to give you any information. Then we have a speaker that's saying, well, call them and ask them to give it to you. Just beg them. Go over there and beg them a little bit. They'll give it to you. You go over there. You do it in writing. Nothing. You go back to the speaker and say, they will not give it to us. Here's the request for subpoena. And guess what? Guess what happened, Bob?
What happened?
Turned down on subpoena again. Now, here's the deal. This is the very bunch that says we're going to come in and we're going to hold these agencies accountable. It is laughable, Bob. It's
you know, talk about that. They're going to hold them accountable. But what we got over to transportation, increase the taxes on the turnpike, not the taxes, but the amount on the turnpike.
Thanks, Bob.
Didn't ask, didn't do anything. They just did it.
Bob, I filed a bill this year to stop that, and I gave it to. Now, here's what's funny, Bob. They are not going to let me have any of these bills. But again, the guy I gave it to, Bob, there's a whole group up there that our speakers and that leadership group will not let have a bill. I was told the other day, we got a young man that's, boy, he's a sharp sucker now. And he's running a bill, I was told, to stop human waste from being dumped out in pastures. Now, here's what's funny. You can't go get a septic tank put in unless you call EPA. EPA never approves them. You have to go get some kind of special system. But here we are having to say, hey, stop dumping human waste on pastures out there, just dumping it wide open. Now, why would we even have to write that bill? Because somebody ought to went out and done something, except that was one of our leadership that was doing it. So guess what? Nobody went out there and tried to stop it. Now we got a person trying to run and say, you can't do that. But guess what? What do you want to bet that bill won't get hurt? What do you want to bet my bill to stop tags from being put in cattle's ears that the government can track, so that if you look everywhere they've done this, they've reduced the cattle herd dramatically, put ranchers out of business so they can control the beef market. Guess what? If you want to really study bird flu, go look at bird flu and why that's being done, so that they can say, hey, here's these diseases. This is why we need these tags. I believe bird flu is just started just to do that and just to cause problems. But Bob, you got that. I gave this young man 7% increase. How does a state agency ignore the legislator and say, we as an unelected group can tell you we're going up 7%, Bob? How much is that across the state? It'll be millions. It probably billions. Oh, but we got to build. Well, here's the deal. If you want to build, come to the legislator, and the legislators can approve that. And if they don't, that's because the people they serve don't want it. When the people they serve want it, guess what? Then we'll do it, you know. But again, it's just unbelievable. And guess what? Our leadership is going to shut that down. And you want to talk about accountability, Bob? 7%. I will be amazed if that young man even gets a hearing in a committee for that bill.
Well,
Bob,
my understanding was that the director did I guess he calls that, what is that thing called? He does a hometown review or city town review or whatever it is.
right? Yeah, a little video.
What's it called?
I can't remember. It's his personal video that he puts
But they
out.
asked, but he was not there, so it had to be Sparks and another person was there.
Right.
Warden did it, and they was asked the question about when are we going to get a raise for the employees? When are we getting a raise? And they said, there's nothing in the works about giving you a raise. I tried to get a raise. I talked over the summertime, talking to some representatives till we get a raise, and they're told that DOC doesn't want to do it right now. So they don't want to give the employees a raise, but they will sure take all the raises they can get, all the money they can get.
Double, got the biggest pay, and we're going to double our biggest pay, almost 50% raise on 185.
Treat them like they're slaves, just like they're absolute slaves, the way they treat them and talk to them.
It's unreal. But Bob, we've got kids being waterboarded, that we have evidence to support that. We have kids that are being sexually molested in detention centers. Not one, Bob. In fact, I had one come up not long ago. A person that I told went and told them, I know that. So he was accountable to what he was told. I was accountable to what I was told. Guess what? They've never come back and tried to investigate that. Kids being sexually molested at a state agency, and they are ignoring it and doing absolutely nothing. And then they're going to start talking about holding accountable. What the crap? When are you going to hold that stuff accountable? You can't hold that accountable. You can't hold nothing accountable. And Bob, that brings me, we're getting, I know, Bob, we picked a good subject today because I know when we got a good subject, I look up and we're about 15 minutes away.
Well, let's stick to what you had on your
here's what I want to talk about, Bob. Let's finish up on this. Is I want to file a lawsuit. So recently, and Bob knows this because he's been with me through all of this, but I received a correspondence from the Department of Corrections saying that they had an agreement with our House leadership. So here I am in the House, the DOC, higher level administration, sends me a memo saying we have an agreement with House leadership. You can no longer have public records, and you will have to come to headquarters to view anything, and that I wouldn't be allowed to copy it or whatever, and that I would have to sign a non-disclosure saying that I would not talk to anybody about what I've seen.
Now, you got that in writing?
Oh, yeah, Bob. I've got it. In fact, the last one they sent me saying that was in September this year. Bob, I even wrote them and said, well, what was it? And they come back and said, the reason they're doing this because I released non-public information. So I come back and I said, what non-public information? And that was in March 26th, Bob. They wrote me an email saying, you released incident reports to the Oklahoma Watch. Now,
Yeah,
Bob,
I think we talked about this before.
Those incident reports I did release. I admit I released them, but I didn't get those incident reports from them. So if I didn't get them from them, I'm not responsible. They didn't give them. I got them out. They were already in the public when I got them. So they were in
But JJ, now you can correct me if I'm wrong. Did you not tell them about this problem going on in the showers? Did you not let them know ahead of time before you did it? And they said, no, you don't know what you're talking about. No, it's not happening.
Bob, I instead of going out publicly with it when I received it.
I know what, JJ. I hate to interrupt you, JJ. It just bothers the heck out of me. Interrupt you, say something.
Don't bother me. Go ahead.
I had a young lady just the other day who used to work at is that Great Plains where the shower was? Worked at Great Plains, and she says, I was there. I seen it. They were punishing those guys. They did it for punishment.
Bob, I've got it in writing. I got it in writing where people said, we're not going to take place. This is a human rights violation. We're not. Let them out. Was told by management, you put them back in there. They're in there for punishment. They're in there for discipline, withholding water, withholding food, wouldn't let them out to go to the bathroom. These guys were giving them trash sacks so they could go to the bathroom in 2x2 cells. I get all of that report. I don't go out publicly. I write them and say, hey, you got a massive problem going on over here. They write me back and say, nope, no problem at all. Then I released it. Guess what? I have a duty to release human rights violation. There is no confidentiality to a human rights violation. Plus, I did not get that from the public domain. I mean, I did get it out in the public domain. I didn't get it from them. I'm not obliged to not let it out because I didn't get it from them. 3, I gave it to them. I called them and they denied it. And Bob, then they went and made 102-page, if I'm not mistaken, report over saying that all that was a lie when they know damn good and well that they have incident reports saying that it's human rights violations. So here's the big deal, Bob. They on purpose covered up massive human rights violations and then went over and made an agreement with my house saying, hey, he released this stuff. My house never come and said, did you release it? What is this about? Nobody ever said anything. They all just agree, nope, we're not going to let him have any more records. With all of this stuff going on, me asking for subpoenas, turning in massive evidence of rapes going on with the doctor of psychology, telling these rapes, documented it in writing, all these witnesses. The AG never goes and investigates. The AG never investigates the showers. The AG never investigates any of all of these reports that we've given. And our own leadership refuses to investigate, but instead makes an agreement to shut me up and make sure I can't get any records. Now, here's what's funny, Bob, is somewhere last year, I get kind of early on, I get told that the guy that may be elected as speaker then has said, I will never get another bill passed. My committee is done. I wrote him a letter and said, hey, you want to fight, just bring it. Bring it. Because if you want to do away with my committee, that's fine. The more time you give me is the more time I'll spend on you. Guess what? I had a bill, Bob, I had a bill that year so here I am, chairman of corrections. I have a bill to allow elected officials to go in to witness documents, to talk to inmates, talk to employees. Guess what? That bill doesn't even come to the only correctional committee, and that correctional bill does not come to that committee. My whistleblower does not come to that committee. Guess what? All these bills were killed. That one, the getting into the prisons, they wouldn't even give me a hearing. They wouldn't even give me a hearing on it. The whistleblower, they let make it to the Senate side, where it never got a hearing, if I'm not mistaken. Never made it to the floor. So okay. they have 10,000 ways of killing you up there, Bob.
I'm sorry.
So here's my deal is, Bob, it's an open record. So the not very long ago, I think somewhere around September, we were working on a murder case where they covered up an entire murder. We have the records to show that they covered up this murder. So I write them and say, can I have these records? And they write me back and said, JJ, as per your agreement, as per the agreement with House leadership, you can't have anything. And they go back through all that. So I write them a letter and say, you know what? It's kind of humorous that you so unwittingly admit to violating open records, and that you admit to conspiring with House leadership to violate the records, but also that you would conspire to stop an elected official from telling the public about all of this stuff. And I said the fact that you made this meeting open to me, now it becomes open records. I want to know where the meeting took place. I want to know all this information about the meeting and the agreement. Bob, nothing. They didn't even respond back to me. I write our leadership and say, hey, would y'all do this? No response back. I write the legal, and legal says, yes, it would be a violation for both of them. When their own House legal says that, that's pretty upsetting, Bob. And they also said that meeting would absolutely be public. So I sent in a formal request for records. You know what I got, Bob?
What'd you get, JJ?
No record available. No record available. So all of this stuff that they've said, you can't have records for over a year. Because of all this, guess what? We don't have anything available. No record available. No nothing to document nothing. So again, here's the deal. How in the world can they keep me from getting records when they turn right around and say, we don't have anything? It's going to be, that's why I want to file a lawsuit on them, Bob. I think that the agreement goes way beyond just stopping records. I think the agreement was to cover up, intentionally, purposely, willfully cover up human rights violations, rape, murder, extortion, locking people in 2x2 cells, and treating their employees, whistleblowers, violations, those kind of things. And so that's what I hope to be able to do, Bob. It's not just records, open records, me and you know, they don't care too much about that. The big deal is that we got people in our government who are claiming, oh, DOGE, we want to hold, we're going to hold these agencies accountable when they themselves have covered up rape of children, torture of children, rapes, murders, extortions, stabbings, drugs, ODs, suicide, you name it, they've covered it up for years. It's time that we hold them accountable. What do you think, Bob?
Well, I think that it's a good example about DOC, about Director Harp, when they say, when are we going to give a raise? When's the officers, people going to get a raise? The one that do all the work.
Yeah.
Well, we don't have any plans to do it, to give y'all any raises. That's not in the works. You know, that's just a slap in the face. It's to give him a 50, what was it, 9% increase?
It's a 50% increase.
That was more money than most of the people up there make at DOC.
Bob, it's at 185. So you got to put it in context. 185,000. We're going to give you a 50% raise. That's $90,000. He gets a $90,000 raise, highest in the state. This guy's zero training, zero experience. I wanted to say that he was great with numbers. Hell, you look at what he's got going on. He's broke. He's broke. He's been a disaster. If you look at his negotiation on the prisons, unless they've got something slid off over here to the side, just if you want to look at what we can see up front, he has put himself, a moron wouldn't get in the negotiation place that he's in right now. He's in the most terrible negotiation place unless he's got something worked out on the side that I don't know about. I always want to leave that open because there are some backhanded, underdealing, who knows who's getting what, who knows whose grandchild's getting a house in Florida or whatever. But other than that, if they ain't got some nasty deal, underhanded deal worked out, guess what? He's in a terrible, terrible negotiation place to buy these prisons or to try to negotiate a new contract. He's terrible, Bob. And the cronyism, you know, when your best friend or somebody who you've hired and you've given all this stuff to, and you turn around and give them a $90,000 raise, and we can't find one document showing you did that. They can't provide.
I don't think they didn't even give any wardens a raise. They just give it to one person. Got the whole ball of wax. We got wardens that are very new. I don't think we have a warden that's been there 5 years, over 5 years.
Well, Bob,
all of them. And you know what? Another thing too, JJ, before we cut it off, it's okay for wardens to go out and drink on the job, smell alcohol on the job, but you cannot do it as a correction officer. Oh my gosh, that's terrible.
Bob, there's no question that he has been giving a raise, but I put in for that open records. I said, I want to see what date was he actually approved, and I want to see the paperwork where he was approved. You know what they sent me back?
No record?
No record available. I want to see where you were authorized. By law, you had to be authorized by the legislators to get you a new headquarters where you're renting a $100,000 building a month. So 1.2. I want to see by law where you were approved for that. Guess what? No record available. So, you know, if they want to start talking about holding people accountable, I got all kinds of stuff. We ain't even started to scratch the surface on the stuff that I've got that they would not, you know, we hadn't even started on the DAs. Oh, I've got all kinds of stuff on the DAs. But guess what? You think they ever want to hear it? Do you think the AG has given 1 ounce of attention to any of this? Do you think the governor has given 1 ounce of attention? Do you think our House leadership? And guess what they've done? Instead of going, great job, JJ, you found $43,000 or $1 million down there, everybody a raise. Guess what? Without one dime appropriation, no new tax, $43 million hidden right there in their administration. Do you hear about that? No. Did they check the other 40? No. Guess what? And again, these are the people that are claiming we're going to find all of this stuff out. Bob, I want to tell you something. I'm going to be on them. I'm going to do my own Doge. I'm going to do the Humphrey Doge, and I'm going to get a list together and I'm going to go out and tell somebody, not them. You know who I'm going to go out?
Yeah, who?
I'm going out to the public. I'm done. I'm done. I'm going to the public on all these bills that they're going to play these little shenanigans and kill them in the back, out there in the alley and never let them in. You ought to be able to get ivermectin. You shouldn't have to buy horse medicine or cow medicine. There's other states that legally you can buy ivermectin across the counter. And guess what? We can't even have a hearing to have a discussion on that here in Oklahoma. Dumping human waste, can't even get a hearing to discuss it. IDs on cows, cannot get a hearing to discuss it. We'll see. I hope I get a hearing on that, but I'm not going to be shocked if I don't. And again, lots of stuff on DHS and all kinds of stuff that's being killed this year. And these new legislators who I will tell you this, Bob, we got some new legislators this year that's got some guts. And I'm really proud of them.
I don't know how you're going to do that and work on everything and do a good job on anything when you've already got a ton of stuff you already found, but you can't just keep finding more, bring it up because they're not doing anything about it.
I'm making the list myself. I'm checking it twice. I'm going to find out who's not in nice. And I'm going to come out with the list of a bag of coal. Who gets a bag of coal this year? And I'm going to make some predictions. It's going to be House leadership. It's going to be the AG. It's going to be the governor. They all going to get a big chunk of coal this year for our list of what's going on. I predict, but we'll have to see if I can get that list out there. What I'm going to do is work with others. Bob, I've incorporated some more people to try to help me come up with that list.
I supported the AG. A good friend of mine was a friend of his and talked to me into doing that. But when I say now that we're not even getting anything investigated, anything close investigated, not just not getting investigated, but not even getting close.
Right.
And even flat fact, I think they even lied about it.
Bob, when he first come in, I was pretty excited. I listened to him bash Trump the first time that I heard him speak, and I was just quickly off of him. I know that he donated some money to Biden and then throwed his wife under the bus, acting like she was one done it. I didn't much like that. My wife really didn't like it, but I didn't really have any hopes for him. He came in, he'd done some things. I was like, well, maybe I need to shut my mouth and maybe I need to pay attention here. But nope, he stepped into and has become the very person that I kind of anticipated he would. He has not investigated DHS. He will not
probably investigate us. That's who they're investigating.
I figure if they could find anything on me and you, we'd probably, and I've already went and got bondsman to get me out of jail. And that's the truth, Bob.
The Attorney General is going to take a case in Cleveland County, a court case. It's a misdemeanor case, and he's going to handle it for the sheriff to represent the sheriff.
And Bob, here's the deal.
Never happened.
That case needs to be kicked out. If any charges ought to be looked at, I would tell you this: I would leave that alone if I was them, because I'm going to tell you who's going to end up getting charged out of that. If they want to talk about abuse of office, abuse of power, and all of those kind of things, Mr. AG, I'd leave that one. That is a hot potato. You better leave alone. He may be kinfolk to you, but you better leave that one alone, because there ain't no justification for arresting a man who didn't give your personal information out, who gave your office stuff out. It's public information. It should be discussed. And he got arrested and didn't even go through the DA. Went to the judge, had to be kicked out. You better leave that the hell alone is what I would say. My advice, if you want to listen. Well, Bob, good conversation today. I think we covered a whole lot. Bob, I was wanting to have a mental health person on, talk about mental health. Our jails, we're going to lose insurance on all of our jails. We're being sued, and the taxpayers going to be on the hook. We got to get that out there. Y'all join us, jj4ok.com, jj4ok.com. We'll look forward to talking to you again on Elephant in the Room next Sunday. Bob, have a great day.